I said I'd never join.
Thought living on sub would be too hard.
I figured only the weatherman tracks storms.
I said my job wouldn't matter.
Never knew how strong I was. I never thought this would be my commute.
I figured I'd never get out of my hometown.
Or be the one who stops an attack.
Joining the Navy sounds crazy.
Saying never actually is.
Oh, hi everyone, and welcome into Behind the Helm. If you want to watch this show live, tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll respond live. As always, find it, like it, share it, follow it. But if you want to watch the show after the fact, head on over to YouTube or on Facebook, where the shows are cataloged, and you can see all the comments and notes and still watch the show and any bonus content. If you just want to listen to the show, head on over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, wherever you can find a podcast, and just search up Behind the Helm. Enjoy the show. Episode 85. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You are here behind the helm on episode 85. If this is your first time here, hey, thanks for coming in. If you're watching live, make sure you throw a comment on whatever you're on, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. We love to see those comments, love to see the shares, get this information out there. We're going to kind of stick with some officer stuff for the Navy again this week, and I think it's going to be really interesting for some people to kind of hear some of the differences. But if this is your 85th time here, I just want to tell you, thank you for continuing to view the show. We are closely approaching the 1,000 followers on Facebook mark. Obviously, our followers on YouTube and subscribers on YouTube and Twitch are a lot lower. We started that later, but Facebook just started this new thing where if you have over 1,000 followers, they can then star things that you do. So a whole nother reason to get to 1,000. I really want to get to 1,000 no later than episode 100 on Facebook. Just to roll into season 2, and I know that I've already been asked by people like, what is it that you're doing? You're just going to have to wait and find out. Keep tuning in as the information just keeps coming out. We already have guests lined up for next week, the week after, into April. It's looking good for Behind the Helm. I've had a big outcry of people who want to help and want to be on the show. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been reaching out and wanting to lend a hand by giving some information to those who may need it. Obviously, you can always listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you can find podcasts. And we're completely caught up. Even this one will be up tomorrow. Ooh, speaking of tomorrow, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Trust me, I got a special homage for the Eagle because of St. Patrick's Day. And I think we'll have a little fun with St. Patrick's Day as well today on the show for bonus content, but you have to view to do that, because if you're listening on the audio versions, you're going to miss out. However, if you watch this later, you can still have fun with it. It's just more fun when you do it live. That's why we do it, because it's fun, not because of time constraints. So, speaking of homage to the Eagle, before we get into what exactly we're doing today, and if you read the description, you should kind of know, I want to go ahead and get into... Oh, cool. On Twitch, somebody's offering me a promotion for my channel viewers, followers, views, chatbots. The price is lower than any competitor. Get out of here. But I see Nicholas Cooper's out there. Always, man. Coop, you're killing it. Killing it, bro. I see your pictures. I see you getting it, man. You're inspiring me. I need to get back at it. And somehow you're still always watching Behind the Helm. You're the man, Coop. Appreciate you over there on Facebook. Nicholas Cooper, one of my previous future sailor. He's going to be a great sailor, off doing wonderful things. So, homage to the Eagle. It's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. There's a lot of history behind that. It's not exactly what it is anymore, or it's not. It's changed to what it is now from what it originally was. But in honor of St. Patrick's Day, I have something that is kind of an Irish tradition that I'm going to give to the Eagle because I have a few of them, and that is an Irish worry stone. So it is a gemstone. This one is marble, and it's normally oval shaped, has a thumb, basically a thumb indentation, and more or less you set and rub it with your thumb when you're worried, and it's supposed to help with anxiety, and really it's just something to do. So it's like the fidget before the fidgets. It's just a rock, but it works. I don't know, right? So I got that for the Eagle in case the Eagle gets worried, right? Plus it's green for him, so we're going to set that down here. Actually, probably just set it right here for now until I can get this figured out. And with that, it wouldn't be an Irish holiday without some kind of Irish greeting, toast, or poem. So I have one for you. Speaking of worry and worry stones, hopefully you all out there aren't having major worries or anxieties. And if you are, make sure you reach out to someone. Reach out to someone this weekend and make sure they're good. Have fun with St. Patrick's Day legally. Be smart. This goes to everybody. If you're out for St. Patrick's Day and you decide to indulge, please make sure you have a plan. All right. So here's what I got for you. It's a poem. It's called Why Worry? There are only two things to worry about. Either you are well or you are sick. If you are well, then there's nothing to worry about. But if you are sick, there are two things to worry about. Either you will get well or you will die. If you get well, then there's nothing to worry about. If you die, well, there's two things to worry about. Either you will go up or you will go down. If you go up, well, then there's nothing to worry about. But if you go down, you will be so busy shaking hands with old friends, you won't have time to worry. Moral of the story, there's nothing to worry about. Just enjoy life, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so what are we doing today? Well, we're going to be talking to a very special guest. He's a commander in the United States Navy, an officer that I got the chance to serve with on the USS Cole, and his path is a little different than other officers that we've talked to. We talked to ENS Dunnuck after he got back from OCS. He kind of told us about OCS. He graduated from Ball State and then went to OCS. We talked to Dragon last week, a naval aviator that went through USNA or the Naval Academy and then went that route. And then I will say that ENS Dunnuck is going the Surface Warfare Officer route, which is SWO. But our guest today is a SWO and even went a different route than they did for officer because there are a lot of different ways that you can do it. But to really tell you what a SWO is kind of hard until you hear it from a SWO. And just like every other job in the Navy, you know the Navy's got a video about it. So we're going to watch a video about SWO real quick. It's very, very short, less than 2 minutes long. We'll bring in our guest, introduce him, and we'll kind of talk about the video a little bit, about his journey, and get right down to it. So without further ado, let me pull up this video about Naval Surface Warfare Officer. Let's see here. And here it is.
A Surface Warfare Officer is 100% leadership role. That is your main job, is to lead sailors. So Surface Warfare Officer, you're essentially a jack of all trades. You're expected to know everything about everything. Engineering, combat systems, navigation, driving the ship.
1,800 yards to turn, next course 310.
We need to be talented at keeping the ship safe and driving it well. At the same time, we need to be tactically sound with how to employ the ship as a weapon.
Contact is out of our sector.
Leadership, management, organizational skills. It's something that you can't teach. No other 22 to 26-year-olds on this planet are doing what we're doing.
I've been lucky to have quite a few different jobs as a SWO. My first job, I was the electrical officer. Then I transferred to USS Independence, where I worked as a weapons officer and navigator. And then for shore duty, I taught ROTC at the University of Virginia. And for my last job, I was the chief engineer on the guided missile destroyer out of Norfolk. As a division officer, which that's where all new surface warfare officers start, you're working hand in hand with your enlisted sailors.
It starts with listening and understanding sailors and understanding the mission and the goals and communicating that mission and goals to those sailors. We set a baseline that we expect everyone to be competent, okay, and then we expect everyone to know their jobs, and that I set the same baseline for myself. I mean, really, it's all about doing the job and doing it well.
Everything you can think of on a ship, as a SWO, you need to be able to speak to it, to know about it, command a ship eventually. This is the pipeline to become a captain.
So that is what the Navy says a Navy surface warfare officer is. And I'm getting ready to bring in our guest. I'm going to get him pulled up right now. And he is a surface warfare officer. You saw in the comments, his name is Commander Jon Williams. Sir, I'm going to get you pulled up right here. Can you hear me, sir? You're muted. My bad. I told you I would tell you, and I forgot. How are you doing, sir?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well. You hear me okay? I can hear you okay, so that's good. Hopefully everybody out there can hear you okay. They should be able to. Sometimes the phone audio is a little weird, but we're good. So I'm so happy. Long-time listener, first-time caller, Jon Williams. So no, absolutely, sir. I know you kind of reached out and said, "Hey, I've watched a few times. I might have some great information." And we kind of talked a few times, which is weird. Yes, enlisted sailors do still talk to officers every now and then. We can do that. It's okay. We are still humans. And I think you got some good information. I'm excited to go over it. But so you're a surface warfare officer. You're a commander, which is an what in the Navy?
05.
05. All right. So just like on the enlisted side we've talked about, it goes E1, E2, E3. Officer side the same way, 01, 02, 03. He's an 05. That is a commander, just like last week. An 05 makes a lot more than an E5, from what I've heard. But they also, and actually you can see it online, they have a lot more responsibility than what an E5 definitely has to have, and we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. Now, sir, you've been in about 17 years, you said, roughly? Been commissioned.
17, yep.
Commissioned for 17 years. It's a little different. You don't enlist, you commission when you're an officer.
Right.
So your route was a little different, though. You didn't go to just a college and then went to OCS. You didn't go to the Naval Academy. You were in an ROTC program at a college, correct?
That's correct.
What made you decide, what made you decide to say, hey, I want to go officer and I want to go an ROTC route? Like, how did that play out for you?
So being a little bit older, I guess my story starts kind of with, I've always been patriotic, and I've always admired the Navy. I think the Navy does a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot to admire there. Shortly after September 11th, the attack in 2001, I was about this close from enlisting in the Army. I went and took the ASVAB, met the recruiter, and was about to sign the dotted line. And then I had a kind of distant family member who was in the Navy and kind of advised me to reconsider. And so, I applied to start. I had started college, and then I'd stopped college. And so I applied to go back into college and start ROTC, Naval ROTC or NROTC at the University of South Florida.
Now there are people who we've talked before about like NROTC scholarships, but you can just apply too, right? You don't have to have a scholarship to go. You can be going to a school, and if they have it, you have to. How do you get into an ROTC program?
Yeah, so I sat down and I met with the staff, including the captain, the commanding officer of the ROTC unit. And yeah, I just went as a student. So I was a regular student at the university and a member of the ROTC unit. They call it college program, not scholarship. After one semester, demonstrating that I was committed and I was going to get good grades, I showed them that, and active in the unit.
Right.
I applied for a scholarship and I got a 3-year scholarship.
Which that's nice.
Yeah, it's real nice.
But
it beats student loans.
But you could have done like all 4 years and not been on a scholarship. You can just do it.
Yes.
Right. Then you're paying for it, obviously, just like you would regular college. You have to take some extra stuff. And is ROTC, so when we talk about people going to OCS, you're looking at certain tests and you have to get selected. When you go to ROTC, when you're on scholarships, or at least certain ones like the NROTC scholarship, you're kind of obla serving, like, hey, we're going to pay for your 4 years of college and you're obla serving X amount of time for a scholarship. If you go into an ROTC program and you're just doing it through the school, you're not obligated to commission, but isn't it like when you're in an ROTC program, does it kind of guarantee you a commission compared to like just a regular college student who applies because you're already in that program?
Yeah. So if you take the scholarship, apply for and accept a scholarship, then you do have a minimum service requirement,
right,
which for SWO, I believe is 4 years active and then 4 years inactive, retired reserve.
Right.
Which just basically means you're on the roster if, World War III starts.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you can stay on and do 4 years without scholarship and then apply for a commission. You'll probably find out, I think you apply during your junior year, and then find out if you're going to get the scholarship, or the commission.
And it's one of those things, like if you're part of an ROT. So I remember when ENS Dunnuck went through it, because he had enlisted and then was applying for OCS, had to take like the test and all these things. I would assume, like, obviously if you're in an ROTC, it's kind of like when you go for a job and you have a degree and somebody doesn't, or you have experience and somebody doesn't. It kind of sets you maybe that step up, right? Scholarship, yes, like you said, you're going to have to obla serve there, but it is something that you can just do, and you just have to go to a school that has ROTC. I'm here in Indiana, Navy ROTC, there's one in Notre Dame, there's one at Purdue. From what I've been told, it's pretty much there's one at every Big Ten school. So it just depends on what branch you want to go into. Now, what is we talked about the Naval Academy. Okay. We talked about that last week. But when it comes to being an ROTC, so what was the university again? You said University of Southern Florida?
South Florida. Yeah.
University of South Florida. Okay. What'd you say?
Go Bulls.
They're the Bulls?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They have a decent football team like once every 10 years. So watch out.
Yeah, I mean, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. It's fine. I'm a Chicago Bears fan. So anyway, when you're going there, it's a regular college, right? It's not because pretty much anybody who's at the Naval Academy is an ROTC, like the whole thing, very stint and tradition, things like that. But what is the difference between like just going to University of South Florida and being in the ROTC? What does that change? How does that look for somebody?
Yeah. So like you said, the Naval Academy, basically you are a midshipman. So 24 hours a day. You're living in the barracks, you're doing barracks inspections and eating in the chow hall. And everything is very regimented and organized, and it's all Navy all the time.
Right.
Uniforms every day. ROTC is, and then OCS is the exact opposite, right? You go to university, get a degree, and then go to 13 weeks, I think, and leave with a commission. ROTC is kind of the middle ground. So we would do command PT usually 3 times a week. There was one lab session, which was like a 3-hour instruction once a week. We would wear uniform. We were issued uniforms, and we would wear those that one day a week to all your classes. And so, the staff, generally there's a 06 commanding officer, an 05 XO, and then 2 or 3 lieutenants. And then what's interesting is that the Marine Corps is also at the Naval ROTC unit since they're Department of the Navy.
Right.
They get their commissions through a Naval ROTC unit. So there's one Marine captain and a Marine gunnery sergeant usually, and then one or two chief petty officers, admin and logistics type.
And they're still active. Like it's not like right. JORTC in high school. Those are people who are being paid through like the Navy or the Army, but they've retired and are continuing on. These are actually active officers, active. Like in that SWO video, that one was saying on his path, he went and was teaching ROTC. So that's something you can do in your officer path, actually, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. Part of your seashore flow, you can take that shore duty at a university, and which is a great opportunity to work on a master's. A lot of times you are considered faculty at the university, which is also, a pretty good resume.
Yeah, heck yeah.
To say you're a professor, because you
are. You're teaching at a college.
Exactly. And then you can get, a master's at either have the Navy help pay for it through programs that we have, or you can get the reduced faculty rate as well.
Right, because it's a little the benefits of being an officer compared to enlisted are different too, like as far as college benefits, stuff like that. It's just a little different. So speaking of that video, we were talking about that video. I know I had sent it to you so you could hear it, because I didn't know if you had seen it before, and you'd mess me back like, oh, motivated now. Like, what did you think of that video?
I play it every night.
Huh?
Every night before I go to bed, I play that video.
Do
so
you?
That was perfect.
Yeah,
then when I wake up too.
You got 3 books on your bedside table: the King James Bible, the UCMJ, and a Navy Blue Jackets manual.
Yeah.
Right? No, what's the
Colonel Jessup?
Huh?
Colonel Jessup.
Oh yeah, but what's the? Well, it was the other guy, but Colonel Jessup was the. What was the book that, especially you guys as younger officers, Rules of the Road? Probably still sleeping with that next to you, don't you?
Yeah, that one never goes away.
Yeah. So anyway, see, I don't even need people to derail me in the comments. I can do it all on my own. ADD is a son of a gun. I'll tell you what. Where was I at? Yeah, something about that.
The video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the video, it is all encompassing, right? Like me and you were talking beforehand, when it comes to officers, people think of naval aviators and they think of like doctors and stuff like this. And I think sometimes they don't understand what a SWO is, that it's yes, you can kind of be anywhere, but there's a reason for that. It's because you're learning everything, because it's more of the track to command, to being the captain of a ship. I don't know. Do you actually, as a SWO, do you end up doing every job before you're a CO? I don't necessarily think so.
Not quite. I mean, the video is absolutely right. Like a SWO really is a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that drew me into this designator or job. Like a submariner knows submarines, an aviator, like they don't even know planes. They know like an F-18. If you put an F-18 pilot on a P-8, they'd be totally lost. Right.
Yeah.
Or a helicopter pilot on an E-2. Like that's not their world.
Completely different thing. Yeah.
Whereas, if it floats, it's fair game. And we'll learn it. So like my first job, I was an electrical officer with, 0 electrical training.
Yeah. What was your, and I want to get into that too. Like, I'm glad that you said it's, I'm sorry. I'm such a child when you said, if it floats, it's fair game. Never mind. I want to get into like, cause you've been in 17 years, so you've seen some stuff. You've done some things. 17 years. It's a long career. So, you're ROTC, you apply for to get commissioned. And do you, at that time, like when you're applying for a commission ROTC, are you applying just for a commission, what's available, or are you choosing, like at that point, are you applying for SWO?
So you submit, I think it was 3 different designators that you are applying for.
Right.
And then they rack and stack like all the applicants at the time. And then, based on, you've got academics is the largest, PT's a factor. You're like
extracurriculars probably.
Yeah, your jobs within the ROTC unit. It all gets put into the gronculator, right? And they come out and they call it service selection. And then you'll find out like, hey, I'm gonna be a pilot, or I'm gonna be a SWO. So
and you find
Buds SEAL's a little different because they got to go on their own route, but yeah, when I think it was my junior, maybe end of the junior year, applied for that. And then, you find out. And then a really cool thing about SWO that nobody else really does, we have ship selection. So it's
I've
almost
seen that. It's super cool.
Yeah, the Naval Academy does it really good because they have, unlike ROTC, they're all in the same place. ROTC were spread out all over the country, but they put all the lists of the available billets or jobs on each ship, categorized by home port. Then they rank everybody who's graduating, getting commissioned at the same time. And so the number one guy or girl gets called up, and they say, okay, what do you want? And they say, I want an LCS out of Mayport or a DDG out of Hawaii. And then that one's off the list. And then they call the number 2, and then they call the number 3, and you can actually watch the board. Yeah.
Like this was the spring ship selection here. And this doesn't do it justice because I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm gonna see if I can pull up some images because it's a digital board.
Is on YouTube.
Is there?
Yeah, the Naval Academy ship selection is on YouTube. I watched it live last year, I think. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, you can see here, literally you get called up and like, hey, you have your commission, and then you get to choose. You can see that some of these boards are empty full, like as they're going up, like where they're at, what ships are available. You get to go up. This is a midshipman here, and you get to choose where you're going, and choose your ship. Like it's kind of like a draft, but it's more of a selection because you're getting choice. I know when I was on the Cole, like we sent some officers to one because somebody was getting selected.
Yep. So what's also cool is that, well, again, this is Naval Academy, but they get to select their walk-up music. So you can pick whatever you want, and that kind of like walking up to the batter's box at a baseball game.
Of course, I saw some stuff today too, which is, you said that, making me think music because it's 3/16. So of course, a lot of people are posting like Stone Cold, Steve Austin, happy 3/16 day. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And yeah, I would encourage anybody. I don't want to try to pull it up and take too much time, but I forgot it is you can pull it up on YouTube. It's out there. You can see it. It's long. It's like watching the draft. It's long. It's a lot. I mean, it's a full college class that's choosing their commission where they're going. So, and I mean, you're not choosing your career, but you're choosing where you're going, and you got to give some thought into it. You want to make sure that you're kind of doing what you want to do. So you did ship selection as well then?
Yeah, so I did
a little different.
I did well enough in college to get higher up on the list, and so I got a DDG, one of the new DDGs at the time. She was only about 3 or 4 years old, out of Pearl Harbor.
What was that one? Where'd you go?
That was USS Chafee.
So you're now, did you select that because of the ship, or did you say Hawaii? Yes, please. Let's be honest.
It was mostly Hawaii. Yeah. But I also wanted a DDG.
Right. Why?
They're I mean, especially back then, there were cruisers and destroyers, and then the amphib navy, and destroyers are kind of the backbone of the fleet. They're the workhorse. They're the ones spending most of the time downrange.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted a new one. So that was the first destroyer active now is Arleigh Burke 51, DDG 51. I was on DDG 90. So
what was the and could you so for ship selection, doing that, is submarines an option, or is that process a little different too, being a sub officer?
No, so they go to nuclear power school. So they commission.
They have to, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then they go to nuclear power school, and then honestly, I'm not sure how it works after that. I think I think it's done. So like aviators, I know they put their requests in for what platform they want, and then it's calculated and they get told. I think submarines are handled by the detailers. I'm not sure. I can't tell you that.
That's fine. I just wasn't sure if ship selection was part of that. I assumed it was probably a little different because even enlisted side to go sub, it's 100% volunteer. You can't. So, no, it's really interesting. So you go to the DG, you're out in Pearl Harbor. And then, we posted some pictures of you the last couple of days, very proud of your family, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, and your dog. Gotta love, I'm a dog lover too. But were you married before? When did you start kind of having a family? Was that a factor for you?
Yeah. So I actually got married shortly before graduating from college. So we met.
Sweetheart.
Yeah.
One of them. Hopefully she doesn't watch this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. She might be upstairs watching. If you hear pounds from the ceiling.
Yeah, you better not agree with me. Yeah, you better say she was the one and only. But yeah, so shortly before you graduate college. So, now you have, like me and you were talking about getting out. Like it becomes kind of like how long you're going to be in. It becomes a family decision. So
for sure,
you just got married. So
ship selection was kind of a family thing too, because I didn't want to go to Everett and have her like hate Pac Northwest or the cold or whatever. So, it's a conversation. Really, any detailing negotiation is a conversation with your family, and you got to figure out it's a balance of family and professional and personal, and then the needs of the Navy as well.
I'm sure she was real upset that you took her to Hawaii. Right?
Yeah, no, not at all. That was, it's paradise,
Yeah, it's amazing.
People save up their entire lives to be able to afford to go there for a week, and
work there.
We lived there for 4 years.
Yeah, and then you have three kids.
We have 3 kids. Yep. Yeah, one was born while I was out there, and then one right before I got to Cole, and then one in between.
Yeah, it's awesome. So you start out there. You start out in Hawaii. Okay. How is the tour length for SWO? What was your first job? Like on your first ship, how many different jobs did you kind of have while you were there? How many did you go through?
So it's really based up to the command on how they run it.
Right.
I think sometimes officers have one job their whole first tour. Sometimes they might have 3 or 4. I think I had 2. I think 2's about the right time. First Divo tour length now is about 24 months. Back then it was 27, so just a little bit longer. I started off as the electrical officer, so I owned I was in charge of the electricians' mates. And it's kind of jarring. I checked in and I was the youngest person in the division.
And then you're the so that's Electro, right?
Yep.
Electro's in charge of some stuff.
Some big programs.
Yeah. Right out the gate. Safety, just graduated college and you are in charge of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I also drew me to SWO. All the other officer designators graduate from college, get their commission, and then they're in school for like a submariner's in school for like
probably 2-3 years.
That's 14. Yeah. I don't know what
4 months probably total.
Yeah. Aviators are in school for 24 months. SEALs are, a different case. That was not an option for me.
Yeah, me neither. They said I was too much of a BA to do that. So
yeah, I can see how that would be a disqualifier for you. SWOs at the time went directly to the ship and you learned everything on the job.
Right.
They've changed it up a little bit. They have a basic division officer course called BDOC. And then you get officer deck phase 1, which is a navigating focused course. So really you've got now about between 4 and 6 months of school, which is good. because it'll give you a foundation for what it's like to be a basic division officer on board a ship. And then, on your other job, you really, as a SWO, you really have two jobs. You've got being a division officer,
right,
which is owning a division and owning the maintenance and managing the personnel careers and all the things associated with your enlisted sailors. But then your watch, which is what you do for like 5 hours a day,
right,
is standing watch on the bridge. So navigating, be a professional mariner,
right?
Because like that rules of the road book, there's very strict rules.
Yeah, I said that because I remember watching a lot of the JOs really struggle. I don't think people understand, even because that rules of the road is the same even for civilian sailors, like people who have like their yachts and sailing boats and stuff. There is a lot of navigation rules that come into play into all that.
Yeah, and it's actually international rules, so it's
right.
Yeah, and you got to know it cold, because when there's a situation, you may not have time to like open up the book and go to Rule 9 for narrow panels.
You have to be able to say like, hey, this is what we got to do. Right. It's a lot.
And act decisively.
Mm-hmm. So, so you were only out in Hawaii. You said you were there for 4 years.
Yeah. So both my first two ships were there.
Oh, okay. So you went.
Yeah.
So really, you kind of turn over pretty fast then. So it was like almost 2 years first ship, and then you go to another ship after 2 years.
Yep. Straight to the next one. You get some training in between.
Oh, right.
Like billet training.
We
basically.
Always do that. I mean, even enlisted sailors, It seems like between ships, you're always getting an opportunity to go to another school, learn a little more, advance your career. Take every opportunity you can when somebody offers you a school. It's worth it to make yourself, just like in a civilian job, the more valuable you make yourself, again, check marks, bullet points, looks good later. So your second ship was in Hawaii. What ship was that?
So that was the USS Paul Hamilton, and I was a navigator there.
DDG?
So I was, another DDG. Yep.
Oh, what was your second job on the first ship? You were electro, and then
first lieutenant.
Oh, right. And then, okay, so that's deck department, right?
Yeah, so that's bosun mates. I had as between 15 and 20 bosun mates while I was there. And like I said, really cool thing about SWO is, I became an expert in the electrical distribution and generation. And then, abruptly, I'm now the first lieutenant. And now I get deeply involved into deck operations, anchoring, small boat ops, flight deck ops, unrep, and learning, that a float, the Firefly on a float coat has a 48-inch line with a bowline on either side.
Like knowing that, like that because it's a check. It has to be that with that, right? While still learning and continuing to learn the navigation side of the watch, right? So you go to your second ship, then you are the navigator.
The lead navigator, right? Yeah. So then you're in that job. I was like the head OD. Officer of the deck is the person on watch who's in charge of the navigation of the ship.
Basically, you're driving the boat without physically driving the boat. Like we've talked about, like with bosun's mates. Bosun's mates are the ones hand on the wheel, hand on the power, actually driving the ship, and then the OD is the person that is standing up at the. People don't realize that like the steering wheel of the ship, the helm, is like you can't really see from there.
No.
So you have officers up in front of you who are telling you, okay, hey, we need to do this way, that way, and then they're relying on you as the bosun mate to physically do it, but you as the OD or the nav is 100% the one who has the rules of the road and has that decisive measure to be able to do that, right? It's a lot.
Yep. And so that was good. I checked on board, and then on a Friday we deployed that next Monday.
Oh,
the Fifth Fleet. But
at least that wasn't your first ship, though. That if that's how you showed up to your first ship, that'd be yikes.
Yeah. But it was good because it makes for a really good turnover. Because captive audience, right?
Oh yeah.
But so the qualified navigator took us across the Pacific, and so I got to observe him and how we did things. And we had this new thing called VMS, which was a voyage management system that I had never seen before. So it was good to get a little training on that. So that for the folks that don't know, we used to use paper charts, chart being like a ocean map.
Right. It's so funny that you say that. It's funny that you bring that up because, well, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a retired QMC on, and we were talking about retirement and transferring out, and we were actually talking about that, how he used to have to use paper maps and like update them, and then he worked up where all those charts came from, like when they would update them and stuff. And he said, but then we went digital, and that digital is, we didn't say what it was called, but that's VMS. It's basically they digitalized all of it where they can push it out and update it, and it's a lot. It depends on who you ask. Some people would rather just have a paper chart because you never know. If VMS goes down, I remember hearing it a lot. If it went down, it's a big deal, Yeah,
it's better. I mean, it's good because you can see where you are at all times, but you're much more reliant upon GPS.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is.
Right.
So yeah, that was a good tour.
What was your second job there? Because you said you had 2 on that ship too, right?
That's it. So your second ship, you're a second tour division officer, and you're going to have one job for that tour.
One job. Okay, so you're NAV.
Yeah, so like FCOs, fire control officer is going to be the fire control officer, damage control assistant is going to be damage control. NAV is NAV for the whole tour. So there's generally no shifting.
Wow, I guess now that you say that and I really think about it, the number of FCOs I had, and yeah, like when they were done, they came in as an FCO and they left. They didn't go to another job. Yeah, I guess I didn't even realize that until you just said that. So you finish up there. You've been in Hawaii 4 years. What was next? Where'd you go next?
So then we went to Navy Personnel Command in Millington, Tennessee, which is kind of like
Tennessee.
Yeah, it's the HR hub for the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in the public affairs shop, which was way outside of what I had done.
How was that? What was your major in college? I didn't even ask you.
Well, it was communications.
Okay.
Maybe that's why the Navy in its infinite wisdom sent me in that direction. But so I was a speech writer for the Admiral. Did some media affairs with Navy Times.
Wait, you're telling me that the admirals don't write their own speeches?
No. Generally not. I mean, I had 2 admirals that I worked for, and one of them didn't need me at all. He could go off the cuff and be much more eloquent than I could write, after crunching away for hours.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I would do research for him, and he would take my bullets. And then the other one, I was doing full speeches.
That's the joy of getting to that level, right? You get to have people do that for you. I mean, you kind of earned it, So that's cool. Like you're in Millington. How long were you guys there?
We were there about 2.5 years.
I also forgot to ask, where are you originally from, sir?
So I'm from Houston. I grew up in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And then went to high school in St. Louis. And then college in Florida.
High school in St. Louis, college in Florida. Just like big old triangle. What?
Kind of all over the
place. Your family moved to St. Louis? You started job or?
Yeah, my dad just changed jobs.
Okay.
He was a banker.
Not military though.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's interesting. So so you went from Texas to St. Louis to Florida to Hawaii, then to Millington, made it about halfway to completing your star here. I'm thinking about it here. You got the star pattern going on. You're in Millington. Where'd you go next? If you tell me Norfolk was next.
Well, Norfolk by way of Newport.
Okay, so you kind of did one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to complete the star, I know we're going to get to it here in a minute, but you then come back to Florida. So that's crazy. You've navigated the U.S. So you went to Newport after Millington. What'd you go to Newport for? What were you doing there?
So that's department head school. So, in the hierarchy of officers on board a ship, there's division officers, which there were the most of.
Right.
And then they're broken into departments. which is led by a department head, and then the XO and the CO at the top, which there's one of each.
Right. Well,
so everybody goes to Newport for department head school, and it's very tactically focused. You're learning enemy capes and limbs, learning how to be an effective tactical action officer who's, like I said, the OD was in charge of the bridge. The TAO, or tactical action officer, is in charge of the combat information center, or fighting and defending the ship.
Right. Right.
So that's like 6 months in Newport for that.
And like you said, now it's not as much job based. You've kind of learned how to figure out the job. Now it's, hey, here is the tactical side of things. Just a shout out here. There's a comment from Dave Hammonds. I see you out there, Muffin. He's a member of my American Legion. Thank you so much. Said you go big bad Brad. Appreciate that. See you tomorrow and Saturday. Again, you're here on Behind the Helm, episode 85. We are sitting with Commander Jon Williams, an officer that I actually served with, but we haven't even got to that part of his story yet. We're going through his star pattern career that he got to transition. We talked about ROTC. Definitely make sure to go back and listen to that if you have any interest in it and are kind of curious, like, what does that look like? Because that's what we're going over. He is a surface warfare officer. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, follow, do all those algorithmic things to help get this information out there, because even if it's not for you, you never know. Yeah, here, wherever, whatever it takes, you never know who you might help. So anyway, sir, so so you go to Rhode Island, and I've been there. I remember we pulled in there. It's very beautiful up there, very expensive to live up there. It's very beautiful. Nice little base up there. People go, but they do more than just department head stuff up there. But that is where everybody goes for department head training. So the kind of higher, you're getting into that next level of SWO-ness, as it were.
Right.
So you go to Rhode Island, then you come down to Norfolk. And what was your first ship in Norfolk?
USS Cole.
It was. That's
Mighty
okay.
Cole.
Okay, that's where we met. But so as a department head, there are only so many department heads, positions. How many? Because I'm sure it's different on different platforms. But coming to a destroyer, are you choosing where you're going, or is it again to the command? Hey, you're a department head, but we're telling you what department you're head of.
So the way we do it is we negotiate orders. We put in like kind of a wish list with our detailer.
Okay.
And then, they rack and stack, and then they'll also look at your background and see what would be a good fit for you. You can tell them, it boils down to home port, platform, and job, those three things, and you tell them which is the most important. Like, right. Hey, I really want to go to Norfolk. I don't care what job or what ship you put me on, get me to Norfolk. And they'll probably get you to Norfolk. Or if you really want to be a weapons officer or a Chang, but you kind of want to be in San Diego, but you don't care what platform it is, they could probably get you a Chang job in San Diego.
So it is very much, you're actually at that point, instead of coming as just a SWO where you can be placed anywhere, you're actually coming on orders. You know what your job's going to be before you get there.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And when you first came to the Cole, you were WEPS, right?
Yep.
So that's the weapons officer.
Yep. I did 18 months as a weapons officer. You're in charge of pretty much everything that goes boom on the ship. So the 5-inch gun, the torpedoes, all
the way down to the small arms.
Yep.
Everything from the 5-inch, the biggest thing we have, all the way down to, the 9mm, the flare, the pencil flares even. Yeah, the little pencil flares even. And that's actually where I first encountered you, because on a small boy, we're talking max realistically, around 300 people. So you kind of know everyone. You really do. I think it's a benefit of it. But I got to work with you as the weapons officer because I had became a SAMI, Small Arms Marksmanship instructor. So I kind of had to work in two departments at once. I'm working in combat systems, and then I'm working for weapons department doing that. And some of the watches I stood in port being duty guns and duty weapons officer having to check temps and the mag springs and stuff, that's something that you directly own. And it's a major thing. That's why, department heads, there's only a few, and you're becoming in charge of even more, things that can be inherently dangerous. So weapons officer does that. You have Chang, which is engineering. You have CSO, which is combat systems. What other department heads are on a small boy? Is that it?
Operations officer.
Oh yeah, operations officer. Yeah, which is big.
And then supply officer.
Oh, yeah. Always forget about.
And then they've started another one called the planning and tactics officer.
Planning. Okay. So you were WEPs. You said 18 months.
Yes.
And I think when you checked on board there, you were a lieutenant.
I knew I was going to be CSO.
You did?
Yeah. So it was a WEP CSO fleet up.
Okay. Okay.
Model back then. Yeah. And yeah, I was a lieutenant. I made lieutenant commander while I was there, put it on. And yeah.
So just like some of the starting ranks in enlisted side, on officer side as well, I mean, assuming that you don't, there's a big difference when you mess up on the enlisted side comparing to messing up on the officer side. However, just like kind of the first couple ranks in the enlisted side, the first couple ranks in officer is like, hey, kind of your time in. Hey, you've been here. We're going to advance you as long as you haven't done anything stupid. But once you get to lieutenant, like going up for lieutenant commander, it's board. It's, they're looking at everything. It kind of goes from, hey, very simple to no, very not simple, very quickly. You're getting looked at board. What have you done? Where have you been? How have you performed? So you got picked up for lieutenant commander. I do remember that. You become CSO, which is combat systems officer, where I literally worked for you directly. May or may not have butted heads a few times, but you have to. You have to.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I had to say yes, sir. And I still do, but I do remember that. And, I think that's a lot of the reason that, we've still stayed in contact here and there is, I think we had a good working relationship.
Yeah. You were also right sometimes.
No. Did you just say that live on the internet?
Hey, it's fine.
It is fine. It's okay to be wrong. And that's, I think the Navy has a big push on that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Yes, we're military, but with what we do, they kind of push a questioning at. There's a difference between questioning everything when you shouldn't and like really saying, hey, hold on a second here. And you don't have to be a chief. You don't have to be an officer to do that. I've definitely seen on the ship where a seaman knows something. Oh, my mom just put a comment, and when you said that I was right, she said, please don't tell him that. Laugh out loud. And I'm sure my wife is thinking the same thing. She absolutely hates telling me I'm right. But you're right.
I mean, it's true.
You got to be able to
train
work
our
together.
sailors well, and it is wise to listen. Navy sailors are technicians.
Right.
And experts at your craft, and your equipment better than I do. So if we're talking about the equipment, like
100%,
I need to listen to your counsel,
Or, well, yeah, at least here, that still doesn't mean that it's right, but you're right. When you're in that type of position, you can't be an expert to the small bits of it. You can be an expert on the operation of it, but that way it would just be too, your brain would explode.
I'm not getting into the tech manuals, looking at the line drawings and,
but being able to show that.
Oh, that resistor is not the right voltage.
Yeah, being able to show that and being an open leader, I mean, that's just part of good leadership, and I've seen, and I'm sure you have in your time, people you've worked for, whether it's chiefs or officers, there's always those ones that there's just different types of leadership. We talk about it all the time. And there are those ones out there that get really strong-headed. Nope, it's what I say, and what I said was right, and I'm not going to take it back from that. And sometimes you have to do that. But, I respected you when I was on the ship with you, and hopefully I earned enough respect from you that I think you were one of the first people actually, first officers that I ever worked with that actually, when I made chief, like had reached out to me and congratulated me, I was talking in class today about my magic stuff and how much it drove old Mr. Rowe crazy. and and then Chief Rodriguez, how he made up all these stories about him, and I'm like, you are gonna get me in trouble. Please stop. But yeah.
Well,
so,
you are the international man of magic,
the international man of magic. Absolutely sure am. You can go back if you go back to episode 78 and watch Express Yourself and Be Magical. You can see where I talk about that and actually show some of my magic tricks, and we talk about how you're not just a robot in the military, and you get to be yourself. It's fun. You get to do things. So again, you're on episode 85, Behind the Helm. We're here with Commander Jon Williams, and yeah, make sure you smash that like button. Leave a comment down below. We just got to the point where we were working together on the USS Cole, and you were talking about you get to the point where, you know, CSO, now you're in charge of combat systems, which that's a lot too. Weps and CSO work a lot together because of how some of those, those systems are directly tied most of the time. And then, you know, normally at kind of the department head level, like you had said, that's where you're working to be the tactical actions officer. So OD, charge of navigation, tactical actions officer in charge of combat. And then I had worked myself up before I left the ship to CSC, which is combat systems coordinator. So you have the highest officer in combat is the TAO. And then you always, when you get to higher areas, you always have an enlisted and an officer. It's like that checks and balances. You know, you got a CO and you got a CMC. You got, you know, you got both sides of the coin. You have the CNO and you have, you know, the MCPON. Like we have that. That's that relationship. So in combat, same type of thing. You have the TAO, the tactical action officer, more tactical, and the CSC combat systems coordinator. So technical, tactical, working together, and it takes both to do a lot. But at the end of the day, the I don't want to say that the fault falls on, but the major responsibility falls on the tactical actions officer. It becomes the officer. That's why that's why you get paid more. That's why it's a lot. It is a lot, and I don't think a lot of people realize that when people are like, oh, I don't want to go enlist, I want to be an officer. Well, you know, maybe you do, but you really got to look at and understand the difference between the two. So your CSO, you're 18 months, you're a WEPS. Then you're CSO. You were a CSO on the Cole for how long?
18 months.
Another 18. So, so it's a 36-month tour. Our department head tour is 36.
Right.
Okay. And
2, combined.
I left before you left, I believe.
Did you?
I think June of 2000.
I left on deployment in March.
Who was the CSO? Oh, never mind. I remember. Never mind. I remember. Yeah, there's a reason I don't remember. But anyway, so it was after.
It's because you missed me.
Well, you remember how we talked how there's good leaders and there's bad leaders? Anyway, so you left and I left. I went on to recruiting after that, and I've been in recruiting ever since.
Yeah.
But not you. You've done a lot of different things. So you work up to CSO. What comes after CSO? What's next for you? Where did you go?
So then I went to Expeditionary Strike Group 2, which...
Damnick?
It is on Little Creek.
Oh, Little Creek. Yeah, Little Creek, which is in Virginia still. So Norfolk, you're still in Virginia. You're in Little Creek. And what was your...
And so
job?
I worked for a flag officer, so an admiral,
okay,
who was in charge of all the amphibious ships on the East Coast.
From the shore side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Because just officers have that same type of thing, just like enlisted. There's a rotation. You're going to sea, and then you're working at shore, depending on what your job is. A SWO is going to have that type of rotation.
So with no amphibious experience, I went to an amphibious staff. I did get a couple, I think 3 schools en route to give me training on, you know, how we do amphibious operations, and amphibious air operations. Reported to the staff, and I was in the planning shop.
Okay.
Because, you know, they're coordinating big movements of multiple ships, and the first thing we really did was go down to provide hurricane relief in the Virgin Islands to after Hurricane Irma, and then
so a little humanitarian mission, which it's cool that like we do that, you know, and that wasn't on necessarily a hospital ship. They do that, but our amphibious ships too, like the Navy does it. You get opportunities to do things like that. So it's really awesome.
Yeah. And then Hurricane Maria came and hit Puerto Rico. So we turned south and got out of the way of the hurricane. And then as soon as we could, we turned back north and we're providing aid to Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
So we delivered a lot of water, cleared roads. We did some medical care before the USNS Comfort came down,
right,
and really took over that mission. One of the coolest things, there was a dam that was on the verge of breaking.
Yeah.
And so, we had Marine helicopters on board, and we lifted thousands of concrete barriers, like from the highway.
Yeah, like
just dropped them. It was an earthen dam, but we just dropped them on the other side of the dam to shore it up, basically. And if that dam had broken, it would have devastated, a couple cities and a bunch of villages, and displaced thousands of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was pretty cool. Doing all those lifts via helicopter.
So you're on a shore duty.
That was pretty rewarding.
You're on a shore duty, but you went for that. Like, you're quote unquote on shore duty. You're not attached, but you got to go to that.
We embarked the USS Kearsarge, which is a LHD, and then sailed from Norfolk all the way down to the Caribbean for that.
That's pretty cool. So how long were you attached at Expeditionary Unit for?
A little over a year.
And then
so pretty quick one.
What came after that?
So then I went to Military Sealift Command, and which
Fun.
A wide variety of ships. It's not just the oilers. There's also special survey ships, and buoy tenders. There's ocean-going tugs, and they do all kinds of stuff.
It's just kind of the support ships, but that's more than just like when we've talked about before on the show, we've talked about on rep at sea, where you get this big oiler that comes alongside. So that falls under that, but also there's more to that, where I think a lot of regular sailors and stuff don't realize that there is a lot more that is involved with that. And what was your job there? What were you doing there? Was that still short time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a little more administrative in nature. So I was,
I can't imagine
dealing with the crews.
For that. I bet there's a lot.
Dealing with the crewing of the vessels and making sure, they were manned, and because they have mostly civilian mariners on board those.
Mariners at that point, right?
Yeah,
I don't think people realize that either. The USNS ships, like it's a Navy ship. It belongs to the Navy, but the crew that is on board, there are some Navy sailors. There are some ETs, OSs, a few, but the crew that's doing all the work, they're civilian mariners that go out and do that. So, sometimes they're veterans, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
So that was right about 3 years doing that.
Okay, so now you're hitting your 4-year mark for your shore, right?
Yep. So time to go back to sea.
Time to go back. So you're going back to sea after that. Where'd you head then?
So again, we go up to Newport for the majority of our training.
Right.
For SWOs, I call Newport Mecca, because we have to make a trip back up there pretty regularly.
Just a pilgrimage back to Newport.
Yeah, I was counting it the last time I was there. I think I've been up there 8 times in my career.
Oh, wow.
Including living there for 6 months,
right.
So then, we get pipeline training, we call it, for the XO job, which covers all kinds of program. We have to cover everything from, bow to stern on the ship and have a understanding of it. But there's also a lot of leadership and training. Goes into ethics and legal stuff. And then, we have sit downs with one of the best things we did was we had all the chiefs come in, and come and talk to us, and just kind of had like a chiefs panel.
Hold on, back up. Can you just say that one more time?
That was one of the best things we did.
Was what?
Sitting down with the chiefs.
I know. Anyway, keep going. It is. It's fine. We get told that in chief training too. We lean on each other. There's a reason that the Navy created chiefs, and the way that they did it is, that's why. It's for that, not saying one's better than the other. We always do, but it is that link, right? And it's supposed to be. Yeah. So, but no, I just,
and the command needs a strong mess.
Right.
Like that's key to the ship's success.
Right. So you do a chief panel right while you're there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought it was a good point. I had to. But you said it was
shine your anchor.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I don't have it on. But you do that, and you just kind of a chief's panel. What was that for? Just to help with like both leadership. Is it you asking them questions, or are they grilling you? Kind of.
It was us asking them questions.
Okay.
Like what make things that they look for in a good XO or commanding officer, because I haven't been an XO before. Yeah, I've observed many, but I'm still learning. And to think that one has it all figured out is a little arrogant, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's just to get better. Right. You got to get real before you can get better, right?
And it's to hear it from that other side, right? So like you said, you'd had observed many, but as a JO and then as a department head, and from that side of things, all right, well, now that I'm getting ready to do this job, I understand maybe a little bit on the officer side why he was doing it. I would like to learn from the upper enlisted, what do they see in someone like that, or what are they looking at to help you prepare for that? And XO, for anybody who isn't Navy or doesn't understand that terminology, it stands for executive officer. Basically, more or less, there's one executive officer on the ship, and you're the second person think vice president. That's more or less what it is. So more or less, again, you're working your way up to command, right? To get to that. That is the SWO path, regardless of if you start as electro or you start as, FCO or whatever. The path eventually is to lead to command, right?
Right.
All right. So you're up there for school for XO school. How long is that?
So I did. Overall, I think it was about 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good size.
It's a big
training track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big chunk. But like you said, you're going from being from a department to now, everything and everybody. And like you said, a lot of ethics and legality comes into it, because the XO, there's certain powers that come with the XO. It's not necessarily, if a sailor gets in trouble, it's not just CASMAS, there's XOI. It can go to the XO where you're making decisions on somebody's career and future. So there's a lot of ethics and legality that comes into that too. So I can imagine it's a pretty big chunk. So you're there 9 months.
Well, it's also advising the commanding officer.
Right.
Like you're his backstop and cover down to make sure that what he or she is doing is right. Because, if they do something that's unjust at captain's mast, like the XO doesn't want to put them in that position or allow themselves to do that.
And there was, I always kind of looked at it, and kind of a little bit of how it was explained to me was too, the backstop, yes, but almost the XO kind of becomes the CO's enforcer to an extent too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't remember. Were you on the ship for Carezimo?
Yes.
So I remember him as the XO, and I hated him as the XO. He was like, shipmate, you want half days? All right, we'll work 12 to 12. Get it? It's half the day. XO out. Like, this guy, but they almost become like the target for stuff for I think the enlisted side. Almost, they're the enforcer. They're the negative one. I don't want to say negative, but like, well, kind of, right? So that the CO can be the bearer of good news, and XO is kind of the bearer of bad news. So again, it's a team effort. Even a CO or an admiral has people that he needs in his corner. So you get done with that school. So then do you get orders as an XO then? Like, you're going somewhere as an XO.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they still do. I know they've changed it. It used to be like you go somewhere as an XO and there's a fleet up. So that's why I remember executive officers I had and seeing them as a commanding officer, because if you go somewhere as an executive officer, you're going to command there. Or is it different now?
That's generally still the model. So there's some one-offs that don't work out like that, which includes me.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah.
Okay. Again, you're here on Behind the Helm. We're on episode 85. We're finishing up, getting just through the career, the illustrious career of longtime listener, first time caller, Commander Jon Williams. We're talking about SWO, Surface Warfare Officer. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, do all the algorithmic things, help get this out. This is some great information, just seeing how the track of a surface warfare officer works, like how it looks. So you go to XO school, you get orders. And you went to where?
I went to the USS Little Rock in Mayport, Florida, which is Jacksonville.
So, there we go.
Yep,
completing that star.
Finished the U.S. tour. Back to Florida.
Yeah, and so what is the Little Rock? What platform is that?
So it's a littoral combat ship, or LCS.
So
they're the newest ship.
A whole different platform.
Yeah. Totally different. Never been on one. And it is completely different than other ships in the Navy. So it doesn't have a prop in the rudder. It's got buckets, almost like a jet ski. So it drives completely different. We actually have a OOD school just for driving the ship.
For that specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
Crew's a lot smaller. We were talking about that.
Yep. Crew's about like where Chief said that Cole, the destroyer, had about 300. We've got about 70. And so you definitely know everybody on the crew.
Right. There ain't no hiding. There ain't no skating. You're going to know.
But yeah, we have enlisted junior officer decks. So the bridge is totally different, Chief. You have one officer deck and one junior officer deck. And that's it on the bridge.
Wow. And like
so,
you said, it's enlisted to be a junior officer of the deck, like on a destroyer. We had a few chiefs that were working on that and got it, but like that's normally not enlisted doing that. It's right. I mean, it's officers there, but there are enough to do that, and it's a bigger bridge. The LCS, like a little bit smaller, so DDGs kind of depending on Flight 1, Flight 2, like the Cole, 525 feet long, 55 feet across. The LCS, as you said, they're 55 feet, 56 feet across.
55 feet, yeah,
they're shorter.
And then 387 feet. So, what is that, 130 feet left, about a quarter
and
less.
The way that they drive, too, like, because the draft and everything's a lot different. Like, it's a whole new model of ship. It was completely different.
Totally. Yeah, so it's built to go in close to shore. We can go to places that, pretty much every other ship in the Navy can't go to, and we can go fast. They're built to go fast, so you can get over 40 knots.
Yeah, we can't say the exact, actually. I'm pretty sure that's the exact is still classified, I think, isn't it? But it's you can look it up. It's over 40. Then to understand 40 mile an hour and fast, well, it's not exactly 40 mile an hour, and I'm telling you that 40 knots is cooking. Like that's moving. So
it's about 50 miles per hour. 40 knots is nautical miles per hour, and a nautical mile is 200 yards longer than a statute mile. So it's about 50 miles per hour, which
still doesn't seem fast, but when you're going through water, it is. Like,
right. And when you weigh thousands of tons.
Yeah, you ain't stopping it real fast. You know what I mean? Like there's some momentum. But it's really cool. Like, I mean, you've seen a lot of different platforms. Almost the only platform you haven't seen, it sounds like, is a carrier, more or less. So you're on LCS. You said it was the Little Rock.
Little Rock, yeah.
And I think one of the
mind if I nerd out for just a second?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So the destroyers have LM2500s, which is their gas turbine modules, right, that they use for propulsion. Each of those has 25,000 horsepower. So for a total of 100,000 horsepower. LCS has 4 engines, 2 gas turbines, and 2 diesel engines that total 130,000 horsepower. But the ship weighs a third as much.
Right.
So that is a beast of it's like a Lotus Elise. on the ocean.
That's crazy.
Power and light.
Yeah. So
That's
like
cool.
being able to be in command of something like that, or just I can't imagine just being on the ship moving with that much force and power. I mean, to go to a full power run on that type of ship, like to get from, a couple knots to going full bore, like how quick can that happen on that type of ship? Because the draft being so much shallower, I would imagine that you can get going
pretty quick. Yeah. And it also goes up on plane, it's called. So like the most of the
hydroplane, more or
hull
less.
comes up out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So somebody who has like
incredible.
a speedboat or something would be more familiar with that. Like when you're taking a speedboat, because the weight is back here, and as you go, you have to plane up, and because of the way those ships are made, that's more or less how they're able to do that, right? I mean, how does it move as far as like, I got asked this today and why I asked this. So the teacher I was with, he said, can you tell the difference when you're on these different ships as far as like the movement of like how he's like, I've been on cruise ships and stuff. And I said, all right, well, that's kind of like a carrier. You don't get a lot of movement. I said, destroyer is very much side to side. And very much, it doesn't take a lot, it's just movement. It's the way it is. How is it with an LCS not having a draft like that? Like, how does it feel? This would be more for sailors, what to expect if you go to an LCS with that.
So if you said a destroyer is very susceptible to the seas, LCS is more so. Again, you don't have that deep draft, which gives you like a keel underneath the seas, so you're pretty susceptible. But generally, the Navy has outstanding forecasting.
Oh yeah.
And will direct ships out of the way of storms. And so, we if there's seas that are anything close to what we shouldn't be in, we avoid it completely.
Right. And I mean, you'd be surprised. I think, we won't get into that because we get too nerdy and too technical and too naval, but you would be surprised what we're able to go in. On the Cole, on a destroyer, I was in seas, I think, at one point in the northern Atlantic in like March, it was like 18 foot or something, like a 16, 18 foot, like to the point where we had to be in our racks. We weren't on watch. It was crazy.
We had some big boys in the Black Sea too.
Yeah, we did. Like, yeah.
There was surprisingly big seas there.
Well, that was when we were there in the winter though, I think, right? Was it the second time we went back up there?
Yeah.
Like when we pulled in and we thought we were going to be on a whole med tour, so nobody packed cold weather gear, and and we're standing watch out there in pumpkin suits and raiding malls for cold weather gear because we're like, we weren't supposed to be up here. That was a fun time. But yeah, so you're on the Little Rock, and one of the pictures we had posted is, I believe it's you leaving the Little Rock, right? Like you have your hat up. Is that as you were? They relieved you for malfeasance or something like that.
Detached. I got rung off.
You got
the ship. I got relieved. Yeah. So the naval tradition is you line up folks, and then walk through, and there's people on either side, and you walk through the middle, and boatsmate pipes and
plays the song of his people.
Yeah. They announce that you're leaving on the public announcement system. And it's emotional for me. I get tied to the ship, and you put so much into the ship of your time and your effort, and you really care about the people that are there, and then you just leave one day.
Especially, I think at that level, because it was for me too. I mean, a lot of enlisted sailors when they leave, like, ooh, because they do that for even enlisted sailors when we leave. Like, it's a tradition. Oh, I don't want them to do that. Like, but it was the same for me. When I came to the Cole, I replaced 2 people and then had somebody, and they left, and I was the only display tech for a long time. And like, so that was that was my baby. Like that whole system, I knew it inside and out, and I was the only one doing it. So yeah, when I left it's hard. You get attached to it, and it's important to you, but I can't imagine being something like that. Like, when you're in charge of a division, you're a little smaller, you still get attached to that. But when you're at that level, like as like an XO, like I think that would be tough, emotional, hard to leave.
Yep, so. It was. And I love the crew. You know, you got to see the hard work of all the sailors from, you know, E3 up to 04.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody was bought in and working hard to get us out on deployment, and then like they're actually going on deployment real soon in the next couple weeks, I think.
Now are you a commander yet at this point, or are you still lieutenant commander?
Commander.
When did you make commander? Was that before you? No, not before you left the Cole.
No, I put it on right before getting to Little Rock.
Okay.
Most of your XOs these days are 05.
Yeah, right. But I just wasn't sure because we didn't hit that. So you leave the Little Rock. You were the XO there for how long?
18 months.
18, and then you stayed in Florida because that's where you are now.
Right. Yeah.
And then we're getting to the last one. This is 17 years, a long one, right? So where are you now?
So now I'm on the USS St. Louis. We actually have 2 crews.
And that's an LCS as well, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, another LCS, hull 19. So one of the newest ones. We have 2 crews. I'm on the blue crew, and so we alternate who is on hull and who is off hull. Mm-hmm. When you're on hull, your focus is really on the ship and the material readiness of the ship. When you're off hull, it's on crew training. So we've got really good simulators here in Mayport, and you know, we spend a lot of time in the simulators. We also spend time on the ship doing training for us, like damage control training, crash and smash.
A lot of admin probably when you're off haul, right? Like you're kind of catching up on the qualifications, the admin, the getting ready to go back out, because like you said, small crew, so you don't have as much downtime. It's very upbeat. So I think that would be good too. I mean, it depends on the person that you are. You know, if you're one of those people that doesn't like to sit still, it sounds like that's where you want to go. You know.
Yeah.
Now, so
and it's good. We can also get a little bit of downtime to decompress a little bit from being on the ship.
Sure. So did you report there as the XO or what?
No, I came in as CO. We did a change of command, and I took over January 13th.
Commanding officer. So you did that SWO track, right? You're up to, you know, I mean, you lead throughout everything, but it's a little bit different. Like now that's your boat, you know. It's the Navy's boat, and they have no problem telling you that. But you know, you're a CO, you're a commanding officer, you're the old man, you're the skipper, you're the whatever other terms people want to use for it. But yeah, so how was that transition when you go from an executive officer to a CO? And now I could see doing it on the same ship because you kind of already know the crew, but like you did it going from one ship to one that you hadn't been on yet. You know, how was that?
It was a little difficult because I didn't know the crew. I mean, the way the model is now, you do, you know, a year and a half as the XO, and then you do another year and a half as the CO. So I didn't know like anybody on the crew.
Right.
So, you know, you don't know people's strengths and weaknesses. So, you know, it took a little getting used to, feeling people out, learning, getting to know them even. So I do weekly coffee with the captain, where I'll bring in some of the junior enlisted sailors and give them some coffee, and we'll just sit down and talk for like an hour.
I feel like I've seen that before.
Yeah, I didn't make it up.
Yeah.
But it's good, and it was really important for me because you know, I didn't know the sailors at all, and I didn't know what was important to them, and things that we're doing right and things that we could do better on. And so, you know, that gives them a venue to talk to the commanding officer without, you know, their chief looking over their shoulder or their department head giving them the evil eye.
Yeah.
So
I feel like when we were on the ship together and you were my department head, anytime I was near the captain, I feel like you were having anxiety attacks most of the time. But
I never knew what was going to come out of your mouth.
But you know what? Me neither. And my wife still tells me that now. She's like, do you think ever when you speak? I said, no, I don't know. Should I think now before I answer this? I don't know. I don't know. I call it how I see it sometimes, and sometimes it's not the right time or the right, but you know, look, I don't know. Apparently I did something right. I made chief in like less than 10 years. So I don't know. Thank you. I mean, you were part of that, you put me on my place a few times, and I think it really helped me grow as a sailor. So, now you're,
you earned it.
yeah. Getting put in my place? I know I earned that. Probably should have had that a few more times. Oh man. But, I mean, so you do that, and you can see for all of you out there. I mean, this has been one of our longer episodes, but I love it. You're on episode 85, Behind the Helm. We're talking to Commander Jon Williams. In 17 years, you just see everywhere he's gone, and we're just talking about commands he was at. We're not even talking about where he got to go with those commands. A little bit, doing the humanitarian missions, but I know on the Cole, like all the places I've got to go, and we've talked about that, the places I've went and done, and I mean, man, like I didn't even know that you had done that much. Even before you got to the Cole, like it's amazing. And so don't discount the surface warfare officer track. I think so many people get caught up in the aviation or the medical corps, and they don't realize that SWO is where, if you want to eventually be that CO, that captain, that, that's where you go. So you haven't been the CO where you're at very long. You said, when did you check in again? I'm sorry, January?
Yeah.
January. And that was a straight transition. You went from one to the other.
Yep.
So been there since January. You're figuring out your crew. You're doing all that. I mean, that's not very long, right? I mean, we're talking just a couple months ago. Well, not even, at about a couple months ago. So how long is that? Do you know how long that CO tour is?
Should be 18.
Should be
That's
18.
the magic number.
What are your plans after that? Do you know yet, or you?
Not sure. Yeah, probably in about 6 or 8 months, I'll start negotiating for the next job. Ideally, we'll set up for major command. There's different wickets we got to hit, for career goals.
To get like looked at for that. Like it's not to be a CO, to be an XO even. The thing I think that we didn't really touch on is like you said, there are wickets within your career that you have to hit. An officer very much is different. You can be let go, you didn't hit these wickets. Like, no, you're not re-enlisting, you're not, thank you. Have a good day. It's serious. I don't, very much so, easier to kind of get fired, for not reaching those goals. Like if it is very driven, I would say a very driven community. You need to be a very driven person to be able to do it. So like you said, you got certain wickets that you have to hit to go on and do bigger and better things. And like we were talking about earlier, it becomes a family decision. You got your family to think about, and your kids and your wife, and what's right for us. I think that's one of the greatest things about the Navy. I joke with people now and say, I just turned 37 years old and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I have time to figure it out. You get the opportunity to decide if you want to stay in or if you want to go out into the world and take what you have and do that. So, I'll be interested to see what comes next for you.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on. Huh? Oh yeah. Thank you.
Me too.
Oh yeah, for you. Yeah. I thought you said you too, but yeah, that too. You're interested to see too.
Also, yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing though. Like, what's next for me? I don't know. I look forward to seeing it. Yeah. Me too. Shoot. Yeah. I really appreciate you reaching out. I appreciate you coming on. And, for everybody who's watching, you want to stick around for the bonus content. I gave you a little bit of a hint because I didn't want to blindside you too bad, sir. But it is St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Again, I just want to put out there, if you're going to go enjoy St. Patrick's Day, have fun, do everything. But, to my sailors, to my future sailors, look, even you old retired guys out there, Dave Hammonds, if you're still watching, have a plan. All right. If you're going to go out and drink, don't be stupid. Especially sailors. Well, I don't want to see anybody get in trouble, but my future sailors, I will kill you. And sailors out there, be smart. Don't lose what you earned. So just have a plan. So, we're going to move into bonus content is where the audio ends, and we're going to roll right in. I'm not going to do the bonus content thing because it's getting really stupid by myself. I miss Levesque. Anyway, so you've watched the last few weeks, have you? Or the last month or so? I mean, you've been kind of busy the last couple months. Been kind of
I generally don't catch the whole show.
I know
No.
you do make it in though. I do appreciate it.
I hop in and out. Yeah.
That's you know what? Here's the best thing, sir. If you get a paid subscription to Spotify, it's $10 a month. You can actually download stuff for underways, and we're on there now. So you can just listen to the podcast while you're running, whatever. Yeah, so no big deal. Just letting you know it's out there for everybody else. It's out there too. So what we've been doing is we've actually been playing some games to win some money for charity. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to win some money for charity today. And I'm going to pull some stuff up to show. We've given to a few different charities, and today is one that we've given to in the past. And we are going to be playing not me. It's not me at all. You are going to be playing for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We have discussed St. Jude's before. You can donate. Anybody can. I would encourage you to. It's a great cause. You can donate monthly. You can just do a one-time donation, US dollars, $5, $100, whatever you can donate. It would be greatly appreciated. And look, get the shirt. Get a t-shirt. This shirt saved lives, and the money goes to it. They are down in Tennessee, and their goal is that when kids come there, the families are not billed. Medical is very expensive, and unfortunately not everybody's in the Navy and has what we have, and there are people that need help. And for them to keep doing what they're doing, they need you. They need your help. So you're helping kids. Who doesn't like helping kids, right? So did that make you feel a little bit more nervous about what you're getting ready to do? Like, oh crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
That just got real serious.
I'm failing kids with cancer. So thanks.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No big deal. No big deal, right? So you're not going to be able to hear it, but there will be a little music playing in the background. It's everybody else will know what it is, and that's cool. So I'm going to get that playing real quick, and I'm going to pull up exactly what you're going to be doing. So, sir, you're going to be playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Well, $100 edition, because I make okay money, but not great money. St. Patrick's edition in honor of St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. So hopefully you have a little St. Patrick's knowledge. Both sides of my family are from Ireland. The Dowden name originally kind of comes from Cork, so Southern Ireland. We'll see. Williams does not sound very Irish.
But it's Kilpatrick on my other side. So
there you go. I'm just messing with you. So here's how it works. Do you remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, sir?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it's less questions. You're not playing all the way up for $1 million. You're playing for a chance to win up to $100 for your charity. There's even a bonus question where you can even win an extra $10. There are stopping points that are kind of like save points, where no matter what, if you get that question, your charity will get that amount of money. You do have 3 lifelines. You have a 50-50, an Ask the Audience, and a Phone a Friend. Now, because I got sick of the one I was using, I created this one, so I had to write down. It doesn't show the 50-50, but I think you'll be okay. But, hey, don't forget you got those 3 lifelines. So are you ready to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire $100 edition, St. Patrick's edition?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Let's start out with $1. Your $1 question is, what Irish greeting is often associated with St. Patrick's Day? Sláinte, top of the morning to you, Diahuit, or Go Irish?
Holy cow.
Now we're talking in general. We're not talking, just a little help here. I know a little Irish. Diahuit actually does mean it's like hello. And we're not talking just because of drinking. If that helps you a little bit, this is very much just an Irish greeting that you tend to only hear people saying around St. Patrick's Day.
Okay. So as much as I feel like I need to, I'm not going to use a lifeline now. I'm going to go with C, top of the morning to you.
C, top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you, buddy. For $1 for your charity. Yeah, I guess that one,
awesome.
Now that I think about it, that one was kind of tough. Don't worry, there's some real easy ones.
Morning to you.
You ready for your next one?
Ready.
Here we go. What do the 3 leaves of a shamrock represent according to the Irish tradition? The first 3 Irish kings, the Holy Trinity, Three loves, your mother, grandmother, and your love, or remember the major cities of Ireland.
So I do actually know this one. And St. Patrick used a shamrock to explain B, the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. So Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. The Holy Trinity is right for $2. Your next question is your $5 question, your first save point. So let's see what we got. What country held the first St. Patrick's Day parade? England, Ireland, Scotland, or the US of A?
So I also know this one, and it was in fact about 20 miles from where I am right now. D, USA. It was in St. Augustine, Florida.
You are absolutely right, USA. It was in Florida. We think of St. Patrick's Day and we instantly think of Ireland, but it was us crazy Americans that started the parades. Now, don't get me wrong, they do parades now, giant parades in Ireland, but the first official like St. Patrick's Day parade was in Florida. So no matter what, your charity will win $5, or no matter, they will get that. You were saying?
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I just was chanting USA.
Yeah.
We're awesome.
Hey, back-to-back World War champions. What can we say? All right, moving on to your $10 question, sir. What U.S. president was the first Irish Catholic to be elected to office? John F. Kennedy, Zachary Taylor, William Taft, or William McKinley?
That's a good question. But I know that it's a Navy veteran, John F. Kennedy. A.
Not just a Navy veteran, but a naval officer.
He was a SWO, too.
John F.
PT 109.
You are correct. The U.S. president, the first Irish Catholic to be elected to office, although Tammany Hall and a lot of things back in New York, there were Irish in office. Never the presidency. John F. Kennedy was the first Irish Catholic to be elected. And speaking of Catholics, we're in Lent right now, and a lot of the dioceses put out things where you can eat meat tomorrow if it's corned beef or sausage. It's every so many years it just happens to fall on a Friday in Lent. Never a good thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to your $20 question. According to lore, what animal did St. Patrick drive from Ireland and is not naturally found on the island? The wolf, the snake, the cat, or the rat?
Oh. I'm stuck between two. I should know this, and I think I do, but I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to do the 50-50.
You want to use the 50-50?
Yeah, isn't that terrible? I should know. I think I know, but I don't want to be wrong.
Okay. So, according to lore...
You're judging me.
I'm not judging you. I'm not, because I can see, I can see it just depends. Hopefully, the two that I wrote down for the 50-50 is not the two that you're in between. According to lore...
That's why I didn't say anything.
Yeah, don't. What? No, I wrote them down, so I don't do that. I don't want to cheat somebody. And it's for charity. Why would I want to cheat somebody out of giving money to charity? According to lore, what animal did St. Patrick drive from Ireland and is not naturally found on the island? This is lore. He didn't actually drive it from Ireland. And you elected for the 50-50. It's wolf, snake, cat, rat. And the two that I wrote down for the 50-50 is A, wolf, and B, snake.
Perfect. B, snake.
According to lore, he drove the snakes out of Ireland, and they are not naturally found on the island. So it's those two things together that make that a true statement. What were you in between?
The rat.
The rat. Oh,
I don't know why.
There are rats everywhere. But naturally, I see what you're saying. Yeah. All right, let's move on to your $50 question, which is your next save point. Here we go. What is the color associated with St. Patrick originally? Green, gold, blue, or white?
This feels like a trick question.
No, there's a right answer.
That doesn't mean it's not a trick question.
I think the key word there is originally.
Yeah, I know.
Because when we think
definitely green now.
We think about St. Patrick's Day now, very much green, Emerald Isle.
100%.
You know,
I'm concerned that gold, but it could even be white. I don't know.
Could be blue.
Yeah, I'm gonna use another lifeline because I don't want to get to that next tier.
Yeah,
right?
at least get to the 50. Hold it there.
Yeah. How does Ask the Audience work?
Ask the Audience works in that I wrote down roughly what percentages would be for each one, just like on the show, except you don't get to see it. I just tell you the percentages, the highest ones.
Okay, let's do that one.
Yeah. Ask the Audience, what is the color associated with St. Patrick originally? Green, gold, blue, or white? And the numbers I've written down, blue is at 67%. Green is at 32%, and then the other two are very, very small.
Let's go with blue.
For $50. The color originally associated with St. Patrick is blue. You're absolutely right. Woo! And it was an association. I'd have to look up. I don't remember exactly, but it was an association that actually did that. It was a sky blue, and then it got confused in Ireland with just a darker blue. But blue is the actual color of St. Patrick. We just know green, and then we know green, white, and orange because that's the Irish flag, but it is blue.
Yeah.
Fun fact. All right, so no matter what, St. Jude's will be getting $50 from Behind the Helm. And just so you know, sir, even if you miss one, like if you miss the $60 question, they get $50, you still get an opportunity for the bonus question, so you can still at least earn that extra $10. But
cool.
Hopefully you're getting to 100. Here we go. And my mom was yelling in the chat as well, blue. And I say yelling, she was typing it aggressively. She's part of the audience. So moving on to your $60 question. Which best-selling Irish band features a member named The Edge? The Cranberries, Thin Lizzy, U2, or Flogging Molly?
U2.
Seem very confident in that.
I know that one. Yep. I don't know anybody else in the band, but I know Bono and The Edge.
Right. U2, you're absolutely right. I will tell you, when I was writing that question, I was going to list all the band members, and I was like, if you put Bono, it's too obvious. And then I almost just listed the other two that no one knows. And I'm like, that's not fair. It's for charity. But I couldn't put Bono. Not everybody remembers The Edge. But that's okay. You got it. $60. On to the next one, which is your last save point, $75. Here we go.
Let's go.
Why is St. Patrick's Day celebrated on March 17th? It's not like Easter. It doesn't rotate. It's always March 17th. The answers are A, St. Patrick's death, B, St. Patrick's return to Ireland, C, St. Patrick's birth, or D, the day he made Christianity the official religion of Ireland.
I'm not sure.
Well,
I know he is credited with converting everyone to Christianity, but I don't know if he was able. I don't know if he had the authority to make it the official religion. I also feel like it might be the death day. Yeah, I got to use the phone friend. Who's my friend?
Huh?
Do you want me to actually call someone?
You can if you want.
No.
You're using your phone. I'll be your friend, sir.
Thank you.
So let's talk this out.
So do you want me to read the question to you?
Yeah.
Like on the show?
Hello? No, but let's talk this out for a minute. So why is St. Patrick's Day celebrated on March 17th? So here's the thing, right? And this is definitely it's a good Catholic question too, and a little history of St. Patrick. St. Patrick was not born in Ireland. They're not completely 100% sure where he was born, other than it was Roman Empire, England.
Yeah.
And he was actually taken at like the age of 16. He was basically a slave in Ireland, and escaped, and then came back to where he was a prisoner and spread Christianity. So
wow.
The thing is, a lot of this could make sense. St. Patrick's return to Ireland, his birth, we always think of birth, and the day he made Christianity to official religion. I would say you were right on that. Like, I don't think he would have the authority, because like while he was alive, he wasn't a saint. That's later.
Yeah.
But very much when it comes to saintly things, the feast days, stuff like that, a lot of times it's surrounded around the death. So I would say that you're probably pretty safe going with A, St. Patrick's death.
Okay, I will go with my phone a friend. We'll go with St. Patrick's death. Answer A.
Answer A for $75 in that stopping point. St. Patrick's death. You are absolutely right, sir. Man, you got good friends. Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 more questions, but no matter what, we're getting that $75 to St. Jude's.
Awesome.
And I was typing these at 6 a.m. this morning because I've had a very, very busy week. So be honest with you, I don't know what the next 2 questions are. We'll see. Hopefully they're not too hard. All right, here we go. According to oh man, I don't know if you'll know this or not. According to folklore, what is the occupation of a leprechaun? A farmer, a miner, a cobbler, or nothing?
That's a tough one.
This is folklore for definitely Irish people and very Celtic people, and what a leprechaun is. In the dictionary, it doesn't tell you what it is. It just says that it's like a I looked it up earlier. I don't remember now. Like a mischievous elf or something like that. But in folklore, they were known for having a job, and it wasn't making cookies in a tree. So we know what a miner is. We know what a farmer is. For those who don't know what the word cobbler is, that's somebody who makes or repairs shoes. Or were they just loafs? They were just nothing. I mean...
So I don't think, they were always very fancy and clean.
Very.
So I kind of don't think that lines up with a farmer or a miner. They had nice black shoes with big old buckles on them. So I could see a cobbler, but then I could also see them just living off of their tricks.
And their pot of gold.
And their pot of gold, right?
They had to make that gold somewhere.
But I don't think folklore would have them just be nothing. So I'm gonna go with cobbler.
Cobbler, which is, again, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it is somebody who repairs and makes shoes. For $90, cobbler is correct.
Woo!
According to folklore, leprechauns are cobblers that repaired and made shoes and then love to play tricks on people. And the whole thing is if you catch a leprechaun, they have to tell you where the treasure is. Everybody gets offended for everything, but you don't see Irish people getting offended at Lucky Charms.
Nope.
You know why? Because we don't care. Next question. This is your $100 question. He could go all the way. Last question. St. Patrick's Day used to be a dry holiday. Not what we think of today at all. Up until what decade? The 1890s, the 1930s, the 1950s, or the 1970s? So originally it was more of a religious holiday, as we were talking earlier, not being what we see today, because, realistically, when people think of St. Patrick's Day, that tends to be what they think about. Getting that green beer, but it was a dry holiday for a long time. What decade?
So I don't know the answer to this. I have no idea about the 1890s. 1830s, I think I'm going to eliminate because that was Prohibition.
Look at you using that big brain.
Yeah. 50s, I think, is pretty straight-laced, whereas 70s, they were kind of letting loose. So I'm going to go with the 1970s.
So again, St. Patrick's Day used to be a dry holiday. You didn't drink. It was a religious holiday. Up until what decade? 1890s. But you're saying you just don't think like way back then, 1930s Prohibition time. That makes pretty good sense.
Well, it was Industrial Revolution. Everybody was working too hard. They didn't have time to drink.
Yeah, for nothing. 1950s, a little bit more straight-laced. And 70s, kind of start letting loose. D, 1970s. Sir, you are correct for $100 for St. Jude's. Goodness. It was actually a dry holiday up until the 70s. Who would have thought, right? Never would have thought that. But yeah, absolutely. Dry holiday. Weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you know what they say about Irish Catholics? Wherever you find 4, you're going to find a 5th. All right, so moving on to your bonus question. Are you ready? For an extra $10, it doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. You've won the $100. This is just a chance to get a little extra money for St. Jude's. Here we go. What is the #1 military podcast in the Midwest? E-Talent, Behind the Helm, in the box or E14, a sailor's voice?
I remember you saying E14 earlier. No, it's 100% behind the helm.
You're absolutely right. For $10 extra dollars, hey, check this out. You're the big winner. Total prize money. Let me cover that up. $110. You just won $110, sir, for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We will make that donation from behind the helm
awesome.
to them. And I'm going to get you pulled up here. So we're back together. And again, sir, for those who are watching now and for those who are watching later, again, just somebody earning money for charity and somebody that I got the opportunity to serve with. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you reaching out and giving us the information. We're covering our officer bases too. It's not just about enlisted, right? We've talked about OCS. I think I have a coin. Is this from OCS? This is what Ensign Dunnuck gave us. Or this is from Rhode Island. Naval Station Newport, right there.
Nice.
Damn, yeah. So absolutely, and then we talked about the Naval Academy and then went over ROTC with you, which was cool. I mean, there was a lot of that I didn't know, really. So it's always a learning experience. And like you said, the day you think you know it all, it's pretty ignorant because there's always something to learn. So yep. I wish you the best of luck at your first command, right, as far as being at command. And, thank you so much for being on. A little bit longer episode, but gosh, I just couldn't cut it short. It's great information. It's always great talking to you. So
appreciate it. You too, Chief. Good luck out there, and let us know where you end up. Excited to hear. And thank you for what you're doing. On the recruiting side and getting the word out there and educating some of our folks.
Yeah, I'm trying to fill your ship for you, sir. I really am. I'm trying my best. All right. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much, sir. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I know, your family's probably chomping at the bit. They probably don't get to see a lot. You're just reporting into a commanding officer position. You're probably pretty busy. So taking the time out to set with me, I really do appreciate it. So thank you very much, sir. Have a great night. Tell your family I said thank you. And we'll talk again.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chief.
All right. Thank you,
Goodbye
sir.
to the masses.
There you go. See you, everybody. Have a good one, sir.
Bye.
Bye. All right. What a great episode. I'm so glad he was able to do that. Hopefully you got some great information. Man, that went longer than I thought. Hopefully I'm able to get the audio version up tomorrow. I will. Don't worry. But thank you so very much for those, if anybody's still out there live, and for those who are watching this later. I hope you learned a little something and had a little fun. So until next week, where we have another great guest already lined up,